All right then, so good morning everyone. Today is Thursday, January 7th, 2021. The time is 9 a.m. Officially calling this meeting to order. It is our weekly meeting of our Community Development Organization. We have a public hearing and a couple of deliberation items. So attending are Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. Commissioner Brooks is joining us via Zoom. Commissioners Duncan and Filios are physically present. I'm going to ask Kathy if you would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay then. Do we have any conflicts of interest? Leslie, Bill?
None.
Hearing none? Okay. So our first item is in fact a public hearing. We do indicate an action item, which means a potential vote. And it is case number ZON, which is a zone change, 20-0007, a request by Quail Run and Idaho Investments LLC for a zone change from agricultural suburban to light industrial of a parcel measuring approximately 0.873 acres in size. Director Callahan, would you like to lead us off, please?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Zachary Trevino is the planner on this case, and he's ready to roll.
Go right ahead, Zach.
Good morning, Commissioners. Planner Zach Trevino for the record, presenting ZON 20-0007. This is a request for a zone change to light industrial from agricultural suburban. Project site is slightly less than 1 acre in size. It's located along the northwest side of Highway 53, approximately 2 miles southwest of the developed portion of the city of Rathdrum. You'll note that the parcel immediately adjacent to the highway, directly across the right-of-way from a Burlington Northern Santa Fe railroad yard. This is an active railroad yard with a number of tracks. In terms of scale, the parcel is approximately 150 feet from the nearest track. Heavily vegetated site, currently undeveloped, and zoned agricultural suburban, of course. And the applicant is hoping to change the zone in order to enable a contractor storage facility. One important thing to note is that regardless of whether the zone change is granted, the applicant will need to obtain an approach permit to make sure that an approach can be established off of Highway 53 to gain access, as currently there is no established approach under the highway. Some interesting points about the zoning in the area that are relevant. You'll note that across the highway is an industrial zone. This strip of land is approximately 4 miles long. The most of it contains the railroad facility, Burlington Northern Santa Fe, and there's some mixed zoning along the northwest side of the highway as well. Most of it is agricultural suburban, but there are isolated parcels zoned something else. Many of them are commercial, and there are some isolated businesses along this corridor. The parcel is near incorporated city limits for the city of Rathdrum. You'll note on the right-hand side of the screen, this is actually part of the city, approximately 1,200 feet away at nearest point. But as previously mentioned, the developed portion of the city of Rathdrum is some distance away. All agencies have had a chance to review this request, and there were no objections, but Idaho Transportation Department did clarify that, of course, an encroachment permit would be required. We did receive comments in opposition to this request, 5 total. A few of those did have explanations explaining the rationale for the opposition, and it generally concerned perceived conflicts between a light industrial use and the adjacent residential parcels. Going back to the zoning map, these parcels in the surrounding area are residential, developed with residences, and there was some concern that extending, the non-residential uses across the highway would cause conflict with that. We have not received any new comments on this case since the original hearing examiner hearing. one aspect of this that's very relevant, and as I get into HE recommendation, it'll become clear as to why is the area city impact. It's important to note that this parcel is not located within an area city impact. Neither the exclusive tier for the city of Rathdrum or the shared tier of the coordinated area city impact, despite its proximity to city limits. And because of that, Rathdrum was not consulted as part of this process, as our code would not, entertain any authority from their end on what occurs on this parcel. And that's relevant to the HA recommendation. Staff has reviewed this, and there are a few factors that were considered. One is the fact that it's located along a very busy highway corridor, close to a large industrial area with an active rail yard. And this is important because current agricultural suburban zone would primarily allow residential use. And having visited the site numerous times, it's quite loud, and the access currently is only available from Highway 53. The parcel is not adjacent to any other road, and if the parcel were to obtain access from another road, an easement would need to be granted by an adjacent property owner. Another consideration is the parcel's small size, less than 1 acre, 0.873 acres to be exact, and it's smaller than the vast majority of parcels zoned agricultural suburban along this side of Highway 53, and it is undeveloped, and so that seems to make it unique. In addition, with the request to light industrial, there would be performance standards that would apply to any use, and this is true for any use permitted right in that zone. That includes landscaping, screening, and fencing requirements. As mentioned, the site is heavily vegetated, as are the immediate surroundings, and so that would provide a natural buffer. But that said, the hearing examiner did recommend that this request be denied for a few reasons. A main reason was comprehensive plan incompatibility. The hearing examiner believes that the city of Rathdrum should have been consulted based on the location near city limits, and cited portions of the Kootenai County Comprehensive Plan, of which this is transitional, as the reason why that consultation should have taken place, and also mentioned the city of Rathdrum's comprehensive plan in the analysis. Furthermore, the hearing examiner believes that extending the non-residential light industrial or any kind of industrial use to the other side of the highway right-of-way would put in jeopardy the residential character of the area. As mentioned, there are some non-residential uses along Highway 53 on the north side, but few. And the hearing examiner believes that not all required findings are able to be made for a number of reasons, and I can certainly go into greater detail, but among those reasons are that, because it would be possible to establish a residential use, assuming approach permit could be obtained, and all setbacks met, that there would be use of the site, and therefore not all required findings could be made. That was the analysis of the hearing examiner, and I'll leave it there for now, but I'm more than happy to go into further detail into staff's analysis, the hearing examiner's recommendation, or the nature of the request, if you have any questions for me.
Any questions for Zach?
No.
Hearing none. Zach, you mentioned that the hearing examiner felt that we should have consulted the city of Rathdrum. Why wasn't that done? Is it simply because it's not in the ACI?
Yes, and the area city impact with coordinated area city impact for Rathdrum, and Post Falls, of course, breaks it down into shared and exclusive tiers. And there are very specific requirements if a parcel were to be located in one of those tiers, and any of those cities, depending on whether it's shared or exclusive, will be able to impose conditions or requirements based on that ACI agreement. Because this parcel is not located in an ACI, if staff were to have reached out to the city of Rathdrum, and, for example, they were to provide conditions or objection, it would be difficult to justify making a decision based on that input when our code doesn't encompass this parcel in the area that we've agreed to share authority over. And so I don't, staff acknowledges that the hearing examiner, as part of the analysis, mentions that it's rather inexplicable that this parcel is not located in an ACI, and certainly that's a discussion that could be had in the future as to whether or not the ACI boundaries could be adjusted. But as for this case and the consideration of this request, it was deemed not suitable to reach out to the city of Rathdrum for those reasons.
Okay, fair enough.
Mr.
Director
Chairman?
Callahan?
Thank you. I can add that it's useful to know that ACIs are required by state law for the principal reason that no city may annex into an area in which they do not have an ACI. So it makes common sense that we would not notice a city where we don't have an ACI.
Fair enough. Okay.
Does staff recommend approval on this?
We do.
Okay.
Okay. Bill, any questions? Okay. Is the appellant here?
Zach, is anyone here wanting to speak for this case?
For the appellant? I guess not.
The applicant is present.
The applicant is present?
Yes, I am.
Do you want to speak, sir? Go right ahead.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Brian Duncan. I'm a member of Quail Run Investments. This, to speak to what Zach's talking about and what the board's contemplating here, I looked at all of this and thought the city of Rathdrum should be consulted. In fact, I did. I called them and spoke with the city planner and asked if they had any thoughts regarding this property or any plans in the future. And I was told no. And if you look in the letter that I provided with this application, I wrote down the lady's name that I talked to. She's the city planner for the city of Rathdrum. That's additional value to your guys' determination. This property, like Zach said, is small. It's 0.8 acres. It only has access to Highway 53, and it is noisy. So in terms of making this a place to build a house, it's not really conducive to do that. We built multiple houses and refurbed multiple houses here in the county and the surrounding counties, but this property doesn't really lend itself for that. Actually, it doesn't even have enough space to have a proper sewage field here. So basically, we put it up for sale. The person that's buying it would like to install a contractor storage yard on this facility. It would make it a really good buffer property between the residential properties to the west. It is a consideration of light industrial would be in keeping with the highway corridor. It's got the railroad switching yard just across from it. To the north of it is a big gravel yard operation. As Zach said, there's multiple other industrials scattered in the area. I won't say it's a high density, it's not, you guys. But it doesn't, it doesn't part. So hopefully you guys will look at this and realize it's a good use of the property. We'd sure like to do it. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Duncan?
Not at this point.
Leslie? Bill?
No questions.
Anything else from staff, or is there anyone
Yes,
on the
I
line?
do have one thing that I need to add.
Yeah, go right ahead, Zach.
A procedural aspect of this. Should you be inclined to reverse the recommendation from the hearing examiner and desire to approve the request, the code would require that a second public hearing be conducted, and the decision would not be able to be made today. However, if you should be inclined to agree with the recommendation from the hearing examiner, then a decision could be made today.
Zach, you recommended approval, so no, I'm good. It's okay.
Okay. David, would you repeat what Zach just said, please? Regarding which
The
way?
regulations require that if you want to approve this, we need a second public hearing.
Because we'd be going against the recommendation of the hearing examiner. Okay.
And
fair
we
enough.
could presumably, Catherine, set that at a date certain. Do we know what date's available? Yeah, if we
Okay.
wanted to go there.
All right.
I guess we need to enter into deliberations.
there you go.
Is there anybody else opposing? I mean, is anybody
Guess
else?
not. Anyone else
Anyone
wish
else?
to speak for or against? I guess not. Bill, any comments? Any, rather, questions? Is he on?
He might be on mute.
Bill?
Yeah, I have no questions at all.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to end public testimony and enter into deliberation.
I move, excuse me, I move that we end public testimony and enter into deliberations.
I second the motion. Bill Brooks? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, entering into deliberations. Can we get him any louder? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Might be too loud now.
Okay, then, any thoughts?
Bill, can you mute your phone portion? We're getting feedback. Thank you. You know, this one is a weird one. I read through it and somehow I missed the hearing examiner's analysis because to me, this was a slam dunk, it's approval. So I was a little shocked to do this. I totally understand the hearing examiner's analysis, but to me, this is a perfect example of you can't have a house there. And should this application be denied, we're denying this person's best and possible use of this. Now, my thing is, I don't know that ITD is going to grant the access, but that's on them, that's not on us. So for me, I would rather see this go to another hearing.
Interesting. Bill, any thoughts?
No, I'm inclined not to grant the change, but that's just where I've come down.
Okay, can you share your reasoning?
Well, I'm generally opposed to changing ag land to anything else, light industrial or anything else. And I suppose this is not a big piece, but that's kind of how we lose the prairie, is a little piece at a time.
You know, I understand what Leslie's saying. It seems like it's an odd duck. It's probably, someone would argue, you know, abutting a major road like that, perhaps better suited for light industrial use. But over the years, when I've chosen to, or voted to approve a zone change, it's been because it was compatible with the surrounding area. I understand staff's analysis, but having read through the hearing examiner's analysis, specifically the fact that it doesn't agree with the transitional use as defined in the comp plan, and why you're going to have a comp plan if you're not going to adhere to it, the heavy trucking that would be entering the road, it's probably likely, as Leslie has indicated, that ITD may not approve it. Can you not build a home there? Sure, you can build a home there. Is it ideal? Probably not. But it's certainly not reducing the value to zero. There is some use.
He said that they couldn't build a home there because of the septic situation.
That's not what I've read from Panhandle Health.
Okay, that's just what the
That's not in-
testimony was.
That's not in the file. That's what the testimony was, okay.
Perhaps I can clarify.
Yeah, you want to clarify that,
regarding the
Zach?
septic. Just Panhandle Health was consulted and they commented on this, and I'll read their comment here. Panhandle Health does not object to the zone change, although if any future use generates wastewater on the property, all regulations for parcels located over the aquifer will have to be met, unless they were created before 1977. And staff had done research into the history of this parcel in preparation for the initial pre-application consultation. And it was platted in 1905 and as part of the Green Acres Irrigation District, and has existed in its current configuration since at least 1973. And so given that, it doesn't appear that Panhandle Health would object to septic. However, that process hasn't been initiated as there hasn't been a concrete proposal for residents in light of this request. And so, I'm not saying that Panhandle Health would approve it, but they also mentioned that if it's before 1977, that the regulations for parcels over the aquifer would not have to be met.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If we approve a light industrial use, what's to say that a septic wouldn't be required? Isn't it logical that if there's a structure, there might be a bathroom?
I don't believe that the applicant is proposing a structure. Perhaps you can clarify.
The intended use of the property would be for a contractor storage yard. There would not be a structure.
But the applicant, Mr. Duncan, you also indicated that you had a potential buyer for the property.
Right, that's the intent, the intended use of the buyer, yes.
Okay.
I mean, just because we go to a second,
Commissioners, bear in mind, we are in deliberations right now.
yes.
Yeah, I'm well aware of that, Pat. We were looking simply for clarification.
So just because we go to a second hearing doesn't mean we have to approve it. It's just, to me, I want to delve into a little bit more understanding. And I mean, this is where usually commercial and industrial development happens, is along these corridors. So, well, that's all.
Okay, so I guess I have to come down somewhere. I'm actually inclined to go with the hearing examiner, but I'm willing to go to a second hearing, but I've got to hear something dramatically different, or I don't think I'm going to be inclined to change my view. But I'm going to agree with Leslie here, only because I really want to pressure these agencies. I want a yes or a no. When an agency comes back and says, well, we could do this if we do that. No. You give me a yes or a no. Don't tell me you're going to establish 16 conditions that then you, David, has to ensure that they've all been met, and God only knows if they all get met. But to go with the benefit of the doubt, I'll go with a second hearing. So I guess my vote then is to go with staff analysis. Motion.
I don't, Pat. What's my motion?
Your motion would be to schedule this for a second hearing to consider whether to approve or deny the request.
All right. I move that we schedule a second hearing to determine if we're going to approve or deny case number ZON 20-0007.
I second the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kathy? What do you need, David?
Yes, date
Yes,
certain.
you should aim for a date certain if
Yes.
we can do it. It saves us from having to
Yes,
renotice.
date certain. That works.
Is that a Thursday? That's fine. Yeah, go ahead, Pat.
Bear in mind, we're not, because this is another hearing, not the continuation of the hearing, we'll have to notice regardless.
So we might be looking at 28 days, is that what I
Oh,
think?
I didn't
Yeah,
realize
yeah.
that.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, it's a separate hearing.
I
Got
was-
it,
Right.
thank you. Oh, well, you tried.
Okay. Okay,
Okay,
thanks.
let's try.
All right, so he
So- so we don't
seconded.
need a date
Nope,
certain.
mine stands.
Okay.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion is carried. And to deny the recommendation of the hearing examiner and proceed to a second public hearing. Okay, then, so the time is now 9:24 a.m., and so we're ready to move on to our second item, which is a deliberation, and it is an action item. Case number VAR stands for variance 20-0009, a request by Stephen and Lori Petroni for a 25-foot variance to the rear 25-foot rear yard setback requirement on a 0.34 acre of land in the restricted residential zone. Director Callahan.
This one's also carried by Zach Trevino, so he's ready to present for you.
Good morning. The subject parcel on which the variance is being requested is located on the south side of Hayden Lake, near Hayden Lake Marina. It's a double frontage lot. The primary access is gained off of Hayden Lake Road to the existing residence located on site. The rear of the lot is adjacent to Upper Hayden Lake Road. Both of those roads are public roads. And this variance request concerns the rear yard setback on Upper Hayden Lake Road. This site plan shows the existing residence. There was a variance granted to the front yard setbacks to enable the residence to be located in that location. And this request concerns a proposed garage structure in the rear of the lot. This would be a garage located at the property line with a wood deck driveway located within the right-of-way, providing access. And the primary reason for the request cited by the applicant is steep slope. This next diagram I think is quite helpful in showing basically what would be required. You have the Upper Hayden Lake Road and an immediate drop-off adjacent to the road surface, still within the right-of-way. And then that slope continues down towards the house for the lot. Staff has visited the site, and so this structure that is proposed would need to be elevated, as would a portion of the driveway. And so the applicant is citing this slope and the need to elevate as undue hardship. Agencies have reviewed this. Lakes Highway District notably would of course require an encroachment permit as well as an approach permit for the work within the right-of-way. They did not oppose that work. They provided, there was a communication between the applicant and Lakes Highway District regarding the feasibility of that. There were no objections by any agencies. And one comment was provided in support, one comment was provided in opposition, and that includes concerns over slope stability, mentioning other examples in the Hayden Lake area, issues with slope stability. And upon visiting the site, it's apparent that this lot is quite steep, and a garage meeting the setback would be set significantly back to the point where it would need to be elevated, on stilts. That would be basically high enough to cause the use to be infeasible, according to the applicant. Of course, there are concerns that would need to be mitigated through site disturbance and building permit processes, namely slope stability. That would be analyzed in the engineering of the structure. The building division would review the engineering. There was a geotechnical analysis that was performed, and all recommendations within that analysis would need to be adhered to. So certainly approval of the variance does not guarantee approval of the engineered plans, because based on the previous image of the structure on stilts, significant engineering would likely be required. The hearing examiner did recommend that this case be approved for many of the same reasons it's included in staff's analysis, and the hearing examiner notably mentioned that the structure would likely not be feasible due to the height of the stilts. And I'll leave it there, but I can go into greater detail if you wish and answer any questions you might have.
Questions for Zach?
No, I'm good.
Zach, can you comment on the other properties in the area, in the immediate vicinity?
Yeah, there are similar uses, not immediately adjacent, but that was actually part of the applicant's presentation at the public hearing. I have an image of one that's nearby. It's four lots away here. And this is along Upper Hayden Lake Road. Slightly different in that this is a primary residence, not an accessory building, not a garage. So they gain their primary access off of Upper Hayden Lake Road. But this was actually provided initially by the applicant as an example of that they're hoping to achieve. And certainly, the concerns over slope stability are noted, and absolutely, the applicant will need to, should the request be approved, prove, through the building process and engineering that the structure is feasible. This process, in analyzing the suitability of the variance, did not, analyze whether or not such a structure would be cost effective, et cetera. But the applicant has claimed that should they be required to set it back, that it would not be cost effective. Just some images that I think might be helpful. Let me go back to some other images here. This upper left shows the Upper Hayden Lake Road surface, and there's a small approach. That's the location that the driveway will begin in. But the right-of-way doesn't end for some feet down the slope. In the upper right, there's actually a marker. Sorry. Okay. This orange line here is actually the edge of the property line where the garage structure would be adjacent to, and so it's a significant drop. And then this is the existing residence in the bottom right. The applicant mentioned as part of the presentation that the main purpose of this is to get extra garage space for vehicle storage. And this bottom left one finally is the retaining wall is currently behind the house, looking up towards where the garage would be.
Okay, so the garage, as depicted in the diagram, or excuse me, the deck itself actually goes out to the road. Is that correct?
Yeah, page 117 has an example.
Yeah, I'm looking at 155.
Could you repeat that?
Okay. Oh, page 117.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and then, let's see.
Okay, so those trees are coming down.
So keep going, let's see if it's, the one I don't know why your 117 is different than mine.
Okay, here's my,
Yeah, there you go. So
okay.
that's another one that's like 4
Okay.
So that helps a better thing. And my understanding is the reason why they need more garage space is because of, they have an elevator that they need to use for handicap access. And therefore, they can no longer park vehicles in that area of the garage in order to get the access.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, during the examiner hearing, the applicant mentioned that his wife has a disability that would require extra garage space to enable wheelchair access to the primary yard. I didn't inquire further into that matter, but that is part of the request that the applicant presented.
Understood, okay. Questions for Zach?
No.
Anyone else wish to speak?
We can't, it's deliberations.
Oh, we're deliberations, forgive me. Okay, we can't do that. Okay, comments, Bill, thoughts?
I don't have any. Looks like a good project to me.
You're okay with it?
I would have to recommend approval.
Absolutely.
Okay,
As well, it's compatible with what's happening in the area already, and without it, I think these, they may have to consider moving. I mean, that's just my opinion based on everything that I've read, and I would hate for that to happen. So for me, this is a good project. The Highway District is not, doesn't have a problem with it. And plus, there's still a lot of hoops to jump through with, as staff mentioned, geotechnical plus the engineering. So I'm comfortable with granting, all the other steps will be bypassed. It still has a very rigorous thing ahead.
I'm fine for all the reasons stated. Motion.
I move that we approve case number VAR 20-0009, a request by Stephen and Lori Petroni for the 25-foot variance.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chairman Philios?
Aye, and the motion is carried. So case number VAR 20-0009 is hereby approved. Thank you. Time is now 9:35, and so we're moving on to our final deliberation. Thank you, folks.
No,
no,
go right ahead. You're welcome.
You don't need to be punished sitting through. Oh. Okay, then. All right, so moving on, case number MSP 20, that's a major subdivision, 20-0001, Walking Horse Estates. First and second editions, a request by Walking Horse Partners LLC for preliminary approval of a 31-lot residential major subdivision comprised of 2 additions on approximately 160 acres in the rural zone. David?
Is Vlad in a room by himself?
He was with Zach, but
Okay,
that's why they were masked up.
okay, because it's hard
Yeah,
to
that's-
Oh.
see, and I do read lips, even though his lips are really small.
Vlad,
on
is
the thing.
Zach gone? Is Zach out of the room?
Well, wait, Mary's.
Okay, he just took it off. Okay,
Apparently so.
okay, thanks, Vlad.
Yeah, I had to listen.
Uh-oh,
Well,
you're
he's
on
mu-
mute.
He's muted, but Zach, Vlad, you're muted.
So this is a deliberation.
Vlad, you're muted. Unmute yourself. There.
There you go.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Vlad Finkel with Kootenai County Community Development. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Great. As Chairman Filios had just stated, this is a request for a major subdivision, case number MSP 20-0001, Walking Horse Estates, first and second editions by Walking Horse Partners LLC.
Go ahead.
The subject parcel of land is located in the northeast corner of Kootenai County, just east of the city of Idaho. It is bounded by Howard Road on the north side with a public road to the south, specifically Walking Horse Lane. The parcel is zoned rural and it consists of 160 acres. The comprehensive plan designation is suburban. The intent of the applicant is to take the 160-acre parcel of land and subdivide it into 31 residential lots, which will be, each lot will be 5 acres in size. The overall project would be developed in 2 different phases, with phase 1 consisting of 16 lots and phase 2 consisting of 15 lots. Access to this property would be with the extension of Walking Horse Lane on the south and the extension of Howard Road due east. The water to this site would be provided, or the water service to the site would be provided via a new water system with the approval of IDWR, DEQ, and Panhandle Health District. And septic service would be provided via individual septic and drain fields on each lot. These are some photos of the access road to the subject property. On the top left, you can see the extension of Howard Road. On the top right, you can see the extension of Walking Horse Lane. The 3 bottom photos on the slide show the existing conditions where it's somewhat vegetated, but some of the property has been logged in the recent past. During the agency comment period, we solicited comments from numerous agencies that you can see before you. All of these agencies provided comments of either no concern or recommendations and requirements that we then subsequently included as conditions of approval for the hearing examiner's recommendation as well as yours.
I'm sorry, Vlad, that says Post Falls Highway District?
Lakes. It's lakes.
Post Falls Highway District number 2?
I'm sorry, that's an error. That is actually Lakes Highway
Yeah,
District.
okay.
Okay, thanks.
And the agencies, as I stated, had no issue with the request. They did have recommendations and requirements that we passed. onto the hearing examiner as conditions of approval.
Which is just standard for major subdivisions.
Correct. We did receive one comment in support of this application during the agency comment period. Based on the lack of public input and approval from all the agencies with jurisdiction, staff recommended approval with the request, being that the applicant comply with the agency requirements and construct shared infrastructure improvements serving this application. The hearing examiner heard this request on December 17 of last year and subsequently recommended approval. Just for information purposes, the preliminary approval grants the applicant, should this be approved again, grants the applicant the ability to move forward with the construction of infrastructure improvements. They would have to come back within a 24-month period upon approval of the preliminary plat to seek the approval of the first phase, and then should phase 1 be approved, then they have additional time to move forward with the second phase approval. So this is a staged process that the board would have an opportunity to review and comment on if the preliminary plat is approved.
Okay, Vlad, on that picture that you have to the south, that's all dirt road, correct? Walking Horses dirt. Are these applicants going to pave all that?
So just for informational purposes, as you can see on the slide, on the south side of this, the subject property, the applicant recently received an approval of Walking Horse Estate's original plat. It consisted of 10 residential lots, and the road, the interior road in that plat was recently constructed by the applicant and has been accepted into the Lakes Highway District maintenance jurisdictional area. In fact, the applicant has, based on a site visit a month or so ago, a number of residences have been constructed within this plat. So the road is already constructed up to the southern property line of the subject parcel.
Okay.
This request.
That answers my question. I was assuming the picture was down facing east, but the picture was facing north, so I'm good. Thank you.
Yes. And Howard Road on the north side will be constructed should this application be approved, and they would construct it from the west side of the property all the way through to the east side of the property. And then there would be an interior road that would head south and would meet eventually, based on this plat, it would eventually meet with Walking Horse Lane on the south side of the subject property.
Okay, thank you.
Zach, with regard to water, are we looking at a community system or individual wells? Reading through the file, it wasn't apparent.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Okay, with regard to water availability, is it a community system or individual wells? It's not apparent from the file.
So the applicant,
There's a will serve
is
letter.
proposing a public water system that would serve the 31 lots in
That's what I
this
thought.
plat, as well as the 10 additional lots that were approved in the original plat of Walking Horse Estates. So ultimately, once this water system is developed, it would serve 41 lots. There is an easement, I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing with the mouse, but there is an easement for a well house in this location.
I see it. Yep.
And staff visited the site. It has been under construction since this fall, and as I understand, Mr. Curry, who represents Walking Horse Partners LLC, advised me that he's working with IDWR on securing a water right for the benefit of this water system. He's working with an engineer to design the water system and submit the construction plans to DEQ for review and approval, as well as Panhandle Health District, who would ultimately be responsible for signing off on the plat and lifting the sanitary restrictions.
Okay, are we over the aquifer here?
We are in deliberations. I don't believe we can ask,
No,
questions.
no, it's actually a question for you, Vlad. Do you know if the subject property is over the aquifer?
You may not
David?
be able to hear you. You need to talk directly into the mic.
Oh, Vlad, I'll try again. Is the subject property located over the aquifer?
Is it located over the aquifer? Just a second. Let me double check.
I have a suspicion it is, but
Well, it's following the
I
5
believe
acre
that it
rule.
is, but let me double check just a minute.
It's following Panhandle Health's 5 acre rule, so
yeah.
doesn't matter if it is.
No, but my concern is, given the situation we're having with some of the concerns with water availability, that's the reason for my question. Although that tends to be more the case south
South.
and west, yeah.
Yeah. North, I haven't heard any.
I wouldn't think so. I'm just more curious than anything.
Just a minute, give me a second, commissioners.
Yep, okay.
Sometimes we have a little aquifer map in the presentation, so.
Well, according to the KC web map, it is over the aquifer.
Okay.
Oh, okay, that's good enough. Come on back, Vlad.
He's probably at his desk.
Yeah, it's okay. We can start.
We're fine. We can go for it.
Deliberations, so-
Okay, thanks for that, Pat.
I'm fine with this preliminary approval.
Okay, motion, I'm sorry, Bill. Questions, concerns?
No concerns, no questions.
Okay, motion.
All right, I move we approve case number MSP 20-0001, which is Walking Horse Estates, first and second editions, for a preliminary approval 31 lot major subdivision.
I second the motion.
Bill Brooks,
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan,
Aye.
Chairman Philios,
Aye, and the motion is carried. So, major subdivision number 20-0001 is hereby approved. Public comment. Hearing none. Time is now 9:47. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Vlad, just so you know, while you were